All right, and we should be live.
Hello.
Live,
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning,
live
everyone.
on Sunday.
Yeah. And hopefully everybody in YouTube land can hear us. For those hanging out in the chat, can you hear both me and the other members of this chat? Because my audio is on a different stream than theirs, so sometimes we have weird issues where you guys can hear me but not them.
Hello.
Or sometimes you can hear them and not me. Hear us? For those hanging
Everything
out in the
good?
chat, can you hear both me?
Yo, what up? How you doing? Glad you're
Yeah.
here. Stay for a while, okay? Thank you.
Well, you asked the question
should
and we
be
gotta wait
okay.
about 30 seconds to get an answer on the audio, so. But I'm previewing it a little bit, and I believe,
Everything good?
yeah, I can hear everybody, so we're good. Yeah,
We're
JR
good,
says he hears
yay!
everyone.
Good. Zero Linux is back. Good.
uh, yeah, Zero Linux is back. Well, that's the big news, huh?
Yeah, that's the big news, and I shouldn't have taken it down. I realized that I can exit the distro maintaining as much as I want, but distro maintaining will always be part of me, part of who I am.
Yeah.
I'll let you in on a secret. You know how I installed XFCE since I'm taking a break now from KDE until they fix the plasma shell issue? Instead of installing it via the Arch install script, I created an ISO.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the news items I wanted to mention about the Arch install script is just this last release they just pushed out now has Cosmic as a
hidden under advanced mode because they don't want everybody to see it.
Well, no, because it's not obviously Cosmic is not a 1.0 release yet. It's still in beta, right?
It's alpha.
It's
But
alpha.
that's a
Okay.
first. Arch pushing an alpha to stable repositories. That's new.
Yeah. So yeah, be careful if you're installing that. Maybe have a backup desktop or window manager you can also log into in case things crash.
Yep.
Or it could be an English person and you call it Alfie.
Alfie. But somebody did request I include an option in the toolkit to install Cosmic Alpha. I was like, heck no. Sorry. I don't want to torture people. I'm not that kind of guy.
I do love English though, because some of the things that they pronounce do make a lot more sense than the way American English is pronounced. For example, we were just talking about alpha and beta. Of course, they call it beta, and it makes sense because it is a E. It's not a A.
Right.
But herbs doesn't sound right to me. I know there's an H in it, but I can't do it.
Yeah, I just come from Ireland for my second time, and I was there for a week, and you start. I personally, one of my favorites is shite. It's a bunch of shite. Yeah, because it sounds more elegant rather than saying the alternative.
Right. If you want to curse but sound, kind of highfalutin and kind of bougie when you're cursing. No.
Wait, Hip Dad, you went to Ireland?
Twice.
Really? What area?
Yeah, down near Carrador, near the Belfast area. Carrador.
Did you go to Cork?
No, I didn't do a lot of trips. I went there to see my girlfriend.
Oh.
Yes, I can have a girlfriend, can I? Well, you say that like, oh, wow. You have a girlfriend?
You must be talking about the ghosts because we didn't say nothing.
That's a different type of sightseeing.
Yeah.
No, but I was in Cork when I was working for Apple.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a good chance I'm going to be moving there in the future. So
you got to be moving.
Yep.
Then there's a higher chance for me to see you.
Yeah. There might be.
Yeah, you'll be closer.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and apply for early retirement because I thought that if I early retired when I was 62, I thought I would lose like $500 a month. Well, I found out I'm only going to be losing $200 a month. So I'm thinking, and I got 66 in 10 months, and I'd like to make it to 66 in 10 months and get that extra $200. But part of me is like, nah, just go ahead and take it now and be done with it. You don't have to worry about trying to make ends meet all the time. You just have to cut back on how much you spend on stuff, and live your life.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, maybe once Steve goes back to Apple, you know, I mean, y'all
Yeah,
can
go back
practically
to
live in the
Apple.
same neighborhood.
If I go back to Apple, but
Yeah.
I need to, since we're live now, I need
Mhm.
to get this out of the way. I need to thank you really, really from the bottom of my heart, Derek, for doing the video. I have been
It's my pleasure.
I have been taken from a really bad situation to kind of okay, thanks to the video.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive, even in the comments.
Mhm.
There hasn't been a single person that was negative in the comments. Everybody was like encouraging and saying, "Yeah, you have all the right to make money out of past projects, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you publish the source code for everyone to play around with. Go ahead, maintaining something like that." Someone said maintaining a project like that as a single person in a country that is suffering is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. So
Yeah, you're essentially doing it in hard mode.
yeah, kind of. But
I don't
it's
know. Sometimes working as part of a team is hard mode too. So,
Yes,
but
but
it's a different
yeah,
kind of hard mode. It's for other reasons.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't want to travel down that road because
Yeah, it's I've tried being having a team and everything, but constantly bickering about this and that and is not productive for the
you know
project. So
what 20 something years ago when I was back in college for my next degree, it was funny because it was around the time that people were trying to really hard to convince people about design by committee was the way that the world was moving. Well, over the last 20 years, we've seen how bad that execution is in multiple industries.
no.
And I think that it doesn't work in general. And
Generally
yeah,
speaking, when it comes to software projects and really just businesses in general, is you have to have a strong leader that is in total control. I mean,
yeah.
he can take input, he can take your opinions on things, but ultimately you have to have one person that calls the shots. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and you got to have people that know and are comfortable with saying the word, telling people no,
Right.
Yeah.
yep.
And you need to, when you're putting people around you, you need to have people that disagree with you. You know, you can hear differing opinions, but you also need to be able to tell them no, and they need to be able to understand that you have that power to say no to them and be okay with it.
And not take it personally.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's another part of it too.
Yeah. Yeah, in the chat, somebody was asking, "What do you all think about Void Linux?" I haven't tried Void lately, but I've tried it many times in the past. It's an okay Linux distribution, like most others. I mean, it's at the end of the day, they're pretty much all the same, right? It's the same software, pretty much you can run on any distro. It's the same bash shell under the hood. It's the same core utilities for the most part. Void Linux, obviously it uses Runit for it's a knit system rather than systemd. So if you're one of those systemd, I don't want to call you a hater, but if you got a problem with systemd, obviously Void Linux is a good alternative.
Speaking of Void Linux, I tried to install it in a VM. It
Yeah.
wasn't successful. It kept throwing the same error over and over again. Can't install grub, unknown file system.
I've had issues with installing Void in the past. One of the things with Void is you need to make sure that you get a recent image.
Yeah, I got the latest. But it was having issues with grub, always saying it's an unknown file system. It's an issue I suffered on while I was maintaining Zero Linux before I stopped.
Yeah.
The fix was something related to Calamares.
I was about to say, I know Grub had a security vulnerability that
recently, yeah.
Yes, so that might have been part of why that's broken now.
Well, not for every distro. It's basically Debian distros that are having the issue mainly, but because they ship an older version of Grub, they don't ship the latest 2.12. They ship it 2.02. So those have the vulnerability. The 2.12, because we're on rolling releases, we have the latest patches and fixes and everything. But Void, I don't know which version Void is using, but for whatever reason, in a VM, it would fail at the grub installation part. If you install it on bare metal, no issue at all.
Yeah, that is weird.
That is weird. I don't know.
It really is. Yeah, because you would think if it wouldn't work in the VM, with grub, then it shouldn't work on bare metal.
On bare metal, it just installed fine, but I didn't last more than 2 minutes on it. It was so different that now I'm using XFCE. Really, really enjoying XFCE, and I just applied my styling, the same one that is on KDE, similar to it on XFCE, but except that the dock is Planck, not the KDE panel. But other than that, it's the same look, and everybody went gaga over it. I'm like, I just opened the dock and moved the panel up top. That's all I did. So, but XFCE is very stable. This is a rock solid desktop environment because it's so slow on the development cycle. So if you want something stable, use something that is slow in the development cycle. I noticed this. Anything that's old, that doesn't move, that is not rolling.
We call this feature complete, Steve, is how we describe these. They're feature
well, not
complete.
really, because they're working
they're just fine the way they are. Don't change anything.
Yeah, somewhat like that, but they're working on Wayland. They still have XFMW4 that needs to be moved to Wayland, but everything else is ported over to Wayland on the XFCE part. But as is XFCE, so stable, I haven't managed to break anything. And you know me, I'm a tinkerer, so I can manage to break anything at any moment. But this one is rock solid. But hey, I still have Zero Linux installed on the main NVMe. So if I want to go back there and see if if it's stabilized, I can go there at any moment. But I need to announce one thing: anyone using NVIDIA, the NVIDIA drivers version 560 have been released. So there's that.
Yeah. I got home and there was like 93 updates, and that was one of the ones I got. Seems okay right now.
Yeah. But there's something that people need to know, that on Arch, if you are using Arch, I don't know how other distros deal with it, but if you're using Arch, there are two separate packages as usual. One for the touring and above. It's called Open DKMS. Only this time we can. Only this time we can no longer cheat and install the regular DKMS on touring and above. If we install the DKMS on touring and above, we won't be able to benefit from the open kernel module stuff. So it's recommended to use the open DKMS on touring and above, and the regular DKMS. If we install the open DKMS on older cards, they're not going to work. It's going to default to Nouveau again.
Right.
So don't do that.
Well, you'll know if you're stuck in the open source drivers. You'll know as soon as you open up Steam and try to play a game.
Yeah, exactly.
And wonder why your frame rate is so bad.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good that they're maintaining two separate packages instead of one, and having it detect if you're using the older cards and then default to the open DKMS and all this shenanigans. Arch is doing it, in my opinion, they're doing it correctly, having two separate packages, one for each architecture.
Yeah, speaking of gaming, I know HipDad was talking about certain games using up a ton of his resources on his computer. I actually updated my RAM on my home computer. I originally built it with 16 gigs, thinking that's plenty because I don't really render video. I do all that stuff on this monster machine here at the office, but at home, I play the occasional game. And the other day I was playing some games on Steam, and I was using like 100% of the RAM, and the computer was freezing up. And I didn't realize how these modern games, how much RAM they suck up.
Oh, major. They use at least.
And I was like, well, let me go. I got online. I went ahead and shelled out, some money for another 16 gigs of RAM. So now I got 32. And now everything runs just fine. Hopefully that'll last me for a few years until I have to update. 64. Right? So.
I'm running 64 just because at the time the cost of 64 versus getting 32 is like minimal. So I was like, screw it. I get 64. I know I'm good.
Yeah, I would have got more if I have known this would have been a problem. I didn't realize, because I don't game a lot, especially like the big AAA games. I didn't realize how much RAM these things use. I like the 16 is like the bare minimum. Like you go look at the requirements on Steam.
Yep.
It's like 16 gigs minimum required, but we really recommend you have 64. Like,
Yep.
damn.
Yeah.
So my friend back in 2015 when he bought his computer was right to start with 128 gigs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's
but
future
see-
proof, right?
Well, at the same time, though, you buy 128 gigs of memory, then it's not actually optimized for today's memory
Right.
controls. So, it might be better to go ahead and
Yeah.
invest in new memory or new
He's still-
motherboard, et cetera, et
he's-
cether.
He's still on DDR3. He hasn't
Oh,
upgraded
man.
since.
Yeah. I mean,
with the
I'm on
situation
DDR4.
with the situation in Lebanon right now, nobody can afford a new computer.
oh, I
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, at least RAM prices are a lot better, because when I was buying these computers, this computer at the office and the one at home, man, the prices of RAM were just so incredibly expensive.
Oh,
Yeah.
it goes up and down.
I mean, it was outrageous.
It's pretty
It's
good
like it's
right
like
now.
the stock market. The RAM is like the stock market.
Oh, I mean, you would spend like just 32 gigs of RAM, I think was like $300 or something. Like it was something crazy.
Mm.
RAM,
At the time,
RAM, fuel, salvage metals, and hard drives pretty much run together on their rise and
pricing?
fall of prices. Yeah,
Mm.
because it has to do with the metals, because they use a lot of metals to make your
And gold
hard
and
drives,
gold
etc. Yeah,
and
Yep.
gold.
So that's the thing to watch.
Yeah,
Like
someone in the chat was asking about what do we all think about NixOS. It's a fine distribution too. Again, once you get these things running, I mean, pretty much every Linux is Linux. NixOS, he was asking, he's an Arch user, and he wants to know, would it be too difficult for him? Not the way Nix is now. If you would have asked me, 8-10 years ago, yeah, NixOS was a very different
and if you
kind of distro. But now the installation process, I mean, you can install it with Calamares, and it's got a lot more. There's a lot more people out there running NixOS and sharing configs. There's a lot more. Everything's a lot more automated now. Where used to you would have to really spend some time writing custom configuration files before you ever installed it, because the installation process required you to have your configuration file ahead of time. But that was before they had a graphical installer. It was all done.
Yeah, but the graphical installer installs a temporary desktop session.
Mhm.
That after which you have to create your configuration file and then deploy it. But if he really wants to dive into NixOS, he can jump on Zany's server and check out Zany OS, because every Nix head, as I call them, is on Zany's server. They only talk about Zany OS, but Zany OS is running Hyperland, so there's that. Careful with Hyperland. Hyperland
Well, I mean, anybody can swap out the window managers and the desktop environment, so you just got to be comfortable eventually editing that config file.
Yeah. Just if he wants any help, and he's still interested, he can jump on Zany's server. Because Zany is a normal person. He's not part of NixOS or elitist like the people in the NixOS developer group, whatever. He's a very good, cool dude, and he taught me how to use NixOS. I used NixOS for a week. So if I lasted a week, that means me, who doesn't use anything but Arch, he's doing something right.
Yeah, it's not anything that if you're somebody that's comfortable maintaining an Arch system, and fixing things when things break on Arch, it'll be the same thing with NixOS. You'll be able to handle anything that crops up, any little problems. So.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, all of this stuff really does translate. Well, when you become good at just solving your own problems, no matter what it is, you can move on to the next thing. You can go try out anything.
Yeah, exactly. So NixOS tends to sometimes be portrayed as hard level, hard mode Linux?
Oh, it was at one time. It was something a lot different than it is now.
A
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
lot different.
It was a very
Have
like
bugs
there's
now.
no, I would never have recommended anybody try out NixOS who wasn't like somebody pretty hardcore that really is comfortable reading the manual and spending a lot of time in a TTY, things like that. Now it's completely different.
Yeah, it was up there with like Gentoo and
Oh
Arch.
yes, I would
Yeah.
say it was worse than those because
Yeah.
of just some of the uniqueness to it.
Yeah, and their documentation is getting better.
Hmm.
I heard that from Zany himself. So the documentation is getting better. Some people are leaving the project. Other new people are coming in. So like every group and every team, there's a constant change, and change is
Yeah.
good. Change is good.
Yeah, for me, I have to stick to an Arch based, just because all the software I use, I know it's in the Arch repos, and I hate to go somewhere else where I might run into some issues with some of what I need.
Well, I used to be in the same boat as you, but now since I use mostly flatpaks, I don't have to worry about that.
Well, not everything I want to use is available as a flatpak as part of the problem.
Yeah. Well,
I've got some special needs. So.
Yeah, for me, I can't move away from Arch because I am so used to it.
The
and
AUR, I mean, there's really no replacement for the AUR.
Yeah,
That's true.
but for me, because I got used to Arch, and I know how to fix it when it breaks. But here's the thing: here I need to clarify something. This has been weighing on my shoulder for many years. When the desktop environment or the window manager misbehaves, you shouldn't blame the distro underneath. You blame the desktop environment or the window manager. But since not everybody knows any better, they blame the distro as a whole. Well, for me, Arch has, since I've been using it 6 years plus, it never broke on me. Never ever.
You can't get mad at normies for not knowing how software is built and how it works. I mean,
no, I'm not mad at normies, but I'm
just normal.
Right? It's a kind of irritating. It irritates me that they blame the whole entire.
Computer breaks, they naturally blame whoever makes that operating system or whoever made the hardware that the computers run. Like that's who they know. They don't know, the lead maintainer of that program that crashed, right?
Yeah,
Right.
like with KDE Plasma now crashing every 15 minutes, the Plasma shell crashing and Kwin crashing every 15 minutes. Instead of blaming Arch, blame KDE Plasma because it's Plasma that's crashing. Arch just ships the package as it's supplied to them from the KDE developers.
And speaking of blaming the people that maintain operating systems, should we blame Microsoft for breaking dual booting with Linux for that update that they pushed out?
No,
Not really, because I've had Linux break my Windows boot. So
yeah. So, but at the same time, it's the problem with the world, lack of communication. If everybody would communicate with each other, things would be a lot better.
Yes.
He's good. Yeah, he's right about that.
That is 100%
true. Hello, guys.
Yeah, we got you.
He's 100% correct. That's the world's problem. Nobody communicates with anybody these days. KDE doesn't communicate with Arch, doesn't communicate with Debian, doesn't communicate with anyone, and then we have problems in the end because they didn't include this, they didn't include that. Come on, people, communicate more.
That was my question right now from you. You mentioned that you have to blame, let's say, KDE when they are crashing on the Arch. But what is it Arch? I mean, the Linux kernel is Linux kernel, okay? And the fact that you just, go around and gather some of, GNU tools like KDE or, GNOME or whatever tools you want, and then, make some customization to the way the packaging system works, and then, create your own distribution, whether it's a DT distro, whether it's, Arch or Debian or whatever it is. So I agree with you to some extent, but at the end of the day, the people who are working on the Arch and bringing those packages to their own compiler and package manager are responsible for having the KDE working perfectly with the Arch. The reason why, if you go to the KDE, they have their own distro for minimal installation of the KDE, and it works perfectly.
Well, here's where I disagree. Arch is known not to touch the packages. They receive the packages from upstream KDE.
Yeah, they try not to modify them.
Yeah, they don't modify them. They ship them as they are.
What is Arch? That's my
Arch
question.
is just it's a TTY. Then they give you the packages. They just compile the packages so they work on Arch from source, straight from source, without touching them.
I think what his
and
point
how
was
you can blame.
It's confusing because what he's saying is when things break, and especially some of the critical vulnerabilities sometimes we see, we have to dive deep. Is it a kernel problem? Does it lie in the kernel? Does it lie in something system D is doing? Like there's so many moving parts. Is it the GNU userland utilities that are it involves real investigation that just a normal computer user is not going to do. They don't have time to do it. They just report the problem to whoever.
That's my point. Exactly, DT. That's my point. Like when you have an Arch, and there is like hundreds of different packages coming from different, people with a different mind, which absolutely have no communication together. Like KDE is its own boss. They're not communicating with GNOME or any other project.
That is true. 100%.
And the easiest people to report a bug to, and typically is the
Arch
distro
forum
itself. Yeah, because if you're an Arch user, you probably already have an Arch forum account. So I'm just going to go to the Arch forum and say, hey, this is happening.
Yeah, which is wrong and which is right, because you are the Arch user. And like, let's face it, guys, like 98% of the current Unix user base have no experience of how this works. They just select the distro based on my recommendation or your recommendation or DT recommendations. And then they hop in, and when they face the issue, the first thing they realize is like Microsoft mentality. Like, hey, knock, Microsoft, I have office problems, please fix it. But it's not an Arch, it's a KDE.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. We just went through this a few months ago. Remember the XZ backdoor thing? Now, was that a problem with XZ? Was that a problem with System D because System D was required? Was that a problem with the Linux kernel? Was that a problem with certain distros because certain distros were affected, but not others? Like there was,
exactly.
They could have pointed the finger to a whole bunch of different people.
And what it sounds like, it was, if I remember correctly, it was somebody who kind of took over that had gotten into the project after the lead guy to break.
Yeah, that's my point too.
And the reason why the distros were affected is because different ones adopted different versions of it.
Yeah. But if you had went and complained to somebody that, for example, works on Debian, well, Debian ships old ass software. So a lot of those changes didn't make it into Debian. So Debian wasn't even affected by that bug because they're so far behind. The bug hadn't made it to their repos. So.
Yes, DT, that makes the enterprise edition versus rolling release.
Right.
Like the Debian is enterprise, SUSE Leap is enterprise, Red Hat is enterprise, and they are old and stable. And let's say I got a new laptop, the Zephyrus G16, like 2 days ago, and it's been 2 days, and by today 3 days that I'm struggling to install anything but Arch. I love Arch. There is no point of fighting against the Arch. But let's say I'm like in more side of being a bit stable, like Leap side, SUSE Leap side, or Debian stable. None of them works. You install the proprietary driver, the audio is not working, the touchpad is not working, the Wi-Fi is not working because it's a Wi-Fi 6, and I'm doing this for like almost 20 years. Like I know the Linux upside down. And for me, spending 3 days, it's really painful to just install something on new hardware. And who to blame? The kernel, the Arch, the Debian, the KDE, the driver, the NVIDIA, the Pulse Audio, the Wi-Fi 6. There is no one to blame. But there is no communication between any of this package. And guys, for God's sake, we are so lucky that we have everything working in the Linux community on the distribution because there is no communication. It just works. We know it works. like it just works. There is no communication of like, guys, I'm gonna release an update in the system that kind of breaks everything. There is no communication, absolutely.
Yeah. And when you go for help, they tell you, hey, it's your sometimes you get answers like, hey, it's your fault for not doing the research and buying the right hardware that is 100% supported by by Linux.
Yeah, I'm not sold though to this words like do the research. If I do the research, I have to get back to like 10 years ago, and buy hardware for that time to work on the Debian stable. But while I need a Debian stable because of the package and Python and development I do daily, or the Red Hat Enterprise or SUSE Enterprise or SUSE Leap, doesn't matter which one we're talking about. I need a new hardware because I'm running a ML and AI, and my machine learning need to use CODA and drivers and new hardwares and the Core i9 CPUs. I need it because if I don't, then a simple data learning gonna take 2 months. So I don't care. Like I cannot go for a 10 years old, 5 years old laptop because someone like it and someone thinks stability means being outdated. The whole idea here is just like manipulated. Like in SUSE Leap, you have kind of the middle ground, and I don't know who here. I think Mike may be using the SUSE, if I'm correct. I've been using SUSE like for past 2 hours. It works. It just simply works for everything.
I think most of this crowd is either Debian or Arch, with the exception of Josh. Of course, he's Gentoo.
Actually, right now I'm on Fedora. But
okay.
I want to take a moment here and rewind everybody back to when we were talking about Arch Linux. First of all, Steve, do you know where KDE is packaged in Arch Linux?
Where?
Extra.
Yeah.
You know what
they
that
only
means?
have the extra and multi-lib. That's all they have.
You know why?
Why?
Because the KDE package in extra is not an official Arch package. The official Arch packages are in core. So
yeah, there's no more core. There's only extra. Oh yeah, there's core and extra.
No,
sorry, my bad.
They're not gonna get rid of core. They got rid of
they got rid of community.
Community.
Now, to further explain why Arch Linux is a bad distribution, because
hit me, Josh, hit me where it hurts.
Okay,
hit me.
Arch, I guess Big Pod didn't make it, so Josh has to trash Arch.
Arch Linux officially does not care for anything that is not in the core repo. Everything else that you see in all the other Arch repositories, it doesn't matter if it's pulled down via Pacman or if it's pulled from the AUR, that's all community effort. So when you install KDE on Arch Linux, it is not Arch Linux's excuse to make sure that KDE actually works. That is the KDE package maintainer. That is 100% on them. That is not Arch Linux.
Yeah, so that's what I said. That's what I said. You shouldn't.
Hold on. The Microsoft
hold on. I've got more. So when it is not Arch Linux's job to communicate with the KDE team to report these bugs, or to even communicate with Debian, who packages KDE in the under an official Debian package guideline, or OpenSUSE, who actually develops a KDE image that you can install, because they actually care that KDE works on their distribution, or Fedora, which does the same thing. It is very different. So, of course, you're going to have an objectively worse or more manually needing to fix things on Arch Linux than the other distributions. That is by design.
My question would be, then we get to the point to realize that Microsoft doing a great job. Yeah.
Believe it or not, Microsoft actually does a pretty good job of actually maintaining software, because the one thing that Microsoft said that they will do is that they will make one desktop environment made for their operating system with a very specific target. Exactly. And they will make sure that it works. And they even do a better job of making sure that the thing that you wrote 20 years ago still works too.
And what we have on the plate, we have a Linux kernel, we have the whole GNU board with trillion of different tools and assets, and then we have various different desktop environments, which they are the boss of their own. No one communicates with Arch, because Arch is not just only Arch, it's Debian, it's Slackware, and it's Red Hat, and then they branch out like to the 1,000 different distribution. So there is no points for any of those desktop management to communicate with all of these distros. So it comes to the point that Arch is a garbage, Debian is a garbage, and everything around them is a garbage. And not the Debian Enterprise, the Debian rolling and the seed, because they are not taking care of the packages injected to the system unless it is enterprise.
Hold on. you're not understanding my argument here. Because you just said that Debian is a garbage operating system because they're not doing that. Actually,
not the
it is
Debian
Debian
itself, not the stable one, the unstable one.
Oh no, unstable, SID, and stable. They all actually do care. It is because it is their job to make sure that it works.
You can't have Debian stable without having Debian unstable. There has to be a testing ground for this stuff. I mean, stable just doesn't happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
but my point is that
does.
when you are crashing on your desktop environment or your driver on a Debian seed while it's working on a stable, so whose that fault is? The GNOME or the Debian?
First of all, if you're crashing on SID, you're supposed to be expecting that because that is where Debian that is the Debian development cycle. You're not expected to have a stable experience on SID or unstable.
Come on, guys.
Or testing.
The name SID doesn't make it unstable. Like the Arch is a rolling release. It's even ahead of the SID. It doesn't make it.
I gotta disagree with you. I gotta disagree with you because even on Arch, I consider Arch, even if as stable as Arch can be, I do think you have to consider yourself a beta tester if you run a rolling release distro.
Hold on.
Okay, great.
Hold on.
Then you have two choices. Go back to the 5 years old hardware,
right,
or be unstable.
Yeah, and that's the choice, and everybody makes that choice that they're comfortable
with. Both of them are horrible.
Yes, they are. I agree. I 100% agree. You know how many times I've hopped from Arch to Debian and back over the years? I agree. It's not a good choice, but that's the choice.
All operating systems suck.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
What's up, Alex? How you doing, man?
Yeah.
Glad to see you, man.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
by the way, for everybody that wants to know what's going on with my T-shirt here, this is a picture of my cat from 6 years ago that I literally printed on a tie-dyed T-shirt.
Nice.
By the way,
my sister runs a print shop, and she decided that she wanted to teach me how to print a T-shirt. So this is what I did.
Nice.
It used to be much more vibrant, but then I started washing it.
By the way, Josh, you're gonna find this a little bit strange, but for this time around, I agree 100% with what you said.
Yeah, it is your job, Steve, to make sure that KDE works on your distro.
Wow.
That's not KDE's job. That's not Arch Linux's job.
Right.
That is your job.
Yeah. And when it is outside of the core package maintained by the distribution, what's going to happen? Like the other day, I installed the Ubuntu, like half of the system is not working, like the hardware and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and everything else, but it was booting up. And and I said, okay, I can live without the Bluetooth. I can live without the audio. Let's move on. And then I searched for a GIMP. There is no official GIMP package. On the Ubuntu, we're talking about the Ubuntu. There is no official GIMP. You have to download the unofficial GIMP and install on the Ubuntu. This is ridiculous.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. I mean, the last thing you want is that you have a GIMP from some guy from nowhere popped in the package manager of the Ubuntu. And why we have this? Because in some point of time, GIMP and the Ubuntu decided that the word GIMP is not suitable for some European country, and they don't like the name GIMP, and then the fight started, and no, the GIMP is not official in Ubuntu. And I mean, what the hell? Like, we're talking about the package that people are using. It's not about your liking or not liking a name and meaning of a name in some countries or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is how we get, the Linux community is get to the point at the moment, like, I hate to say it, but
yeah, that's a strange. Yeah, I didn't know that because I know they package GIMP as a snap, and it is packaged by the Snapcraft team, which works for Canonical. Yeah. So that doesn't make sense if.
Yeah, I think what he's talking about is the Debian package.
Yeah. It's probably from upstream Debian that was the problem, because the Ubuntu, I know people at Canonical package, they for sure package GIMP as a snap. I don't know why they'd care whether it was packaged as a deb pack or not.
Yeah, it's not officially in the deb package, so you cannot have the official version of the GIMP by the GIMP on the Ubuntu, which is really really not nice.
Unless you use it for snap.
What?
Unless you use it as a snap.
Yeah, a snap. That's the last thing I ever want to use in my system. Like
you signed up for snaps with
all the Debian packages are. I mean, all the regular Debian packages are rebuilt by Canonical app
Yeah,
from
exactly.
Debian. Yeah.
And you can bypass it. You don't have to be forced to use it.
And I say they built the Snap. Obviously, I bet some of the GIMP developers probably have a Flatpak or an app image. You can probably get it as other package formats.
The
they have it as a
Flatpak
Flatpak.
package actually is an official GIMP package. Last I
Okay,
checked.
see, so there are packages out there you can trust the people that package it. It's
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
He wanted it
But
specifically
DT,
from the apt
Derek,
repositories.
imagine this.
Mhm.
Imagine the end user point of view. Like I sold out to Ubuntu. Yeah, Ubuntu comes with a Snap. And I don't want to go with the Flatpak and then Yay and then this and that on my distribution. Because if I want to go with the Yay, I go with the Arch. And if I want to go with Flatpak, I go with the Fedora. And
you just make your choices. I mean, if you really don't like snaps and Flatpaks, there are plenty of distros for you out there that
there are plenty
really...
of distros which may work on your new laptop 2%. That's my problem at the moment. I'm
Gentoo
with
will
this.
always be there, and like Josh always. But seriously, Gentoo will always be there for the people that want to run whatever technology they want to run on their distribution. They don't care.
Well, as long as the upstream project has official support for it and it still compiles, it's still supported in Gentoo.
Yeah.
And where I ended up, guys? I ended up on the FreeBSD.
Ooh.
Perfectly viable choice too.
Fire Metal Game Time would like to know what the difference between Flatpak, Snap, and others is. Well, it's a question of sandboxing and how you privacy. So
for the most part,
yeah.
And whether the cat's
for
already
the
been
end
in
user,
it.
it could also be a question of types of applications that could be supported,
and also the size of the package you download, like the GIMP on the Flatpak and GIMP on the Ubuntu is going to be a whole different size.
As far as differences for just your regular graphical GUI applications that most computer users are asking about, they pretty much, your programs are open, you'll use them as normal. It gets a little weird when you talk about server-related packages, command line stuff. Some of those package formats are better than others.
Yeah. May I interject a question, DT? Mm-hmm. Have you ever gotten NVENC encoding to work in Kdenlive with a packaged format? I have to compile Kdenlive manually, then I have full support for all encoders on my latest hardware.
Well, you see, because I do all of my video editing on this AMD machine.
Oh, I see.
I haven't had to render a video on an NVIDIA machine in about 4 years now, but I do remember back, but of course that was years ago. But yeah, I remember NVENC working fine on that. I don't remember compiling Kdenlive or anything else.
I just published a video an hour ago, and I rendered it in NVENC. No problem. But I don't know.
Are you using the official app image, Stefan?
Yeah, I was trying various formats, app image.
Because that's what the Kdenlive team, they package the app image, so that might be your best bet on Arch, because Arch is flaky. The Arch package itself sucks. It breaks all the time.
Well, yeah, I used it on XFCE, because since I am on XFCE, I used it, but I don't know why they keep labeling it as experimental. But anyway, I selected NVENC VBR and used 6 threads and whatever. It exported the video in 2 minutes. So I don't need to repackage or recompile.
That's about what I do. I give it, 8, 10, 12 threads or whatever, and it's fine. Yeah.
It works, but I know some NVIDIA cards. Yeah, for some NVIDIA cards, specifically older ones, they have an issue with NVENC encoder. It does not. It just, when you start to render, it immediately fails.
Yeah. Sometimes, well, I can render perfectly with NVENC. I just have to git clone Kdenlive, but that's fine for me.
Color me weird. Last time I attempted to render videos with hardware acceleration on an Intel system, for example, Kdenlive's VA API support is very good for the integrated chips on my CPU, but not the Intel Arc GPU. The Intel Arc GPU, what I have to do is I have to export the MLT command directly, and because MLT supports Intel Arc AV1 encoding, but Kdenlive does not. It only supports software encoding, not hardware acceleration. So so you can export the Kden Live profile, pass it into MLT directly, and actually still be able to render your video out into hardware accelerated AV1.
Oh, I see.
Which that was a learning experience in myself because I don't know crap about media encoding.
Oh, you do.
The one
So
thing,
you
the
know
one
how
thing
I'm
that Josh
suffering now,
doesn't know.
Josh.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
I said that's the one thing Josh doesn't know.
I actually don't know a lot of stuff. I don't want to get into too many topics covering encryption because I'm probably going to say something incredibly wrong, even though I know that's just really just a bunch of complicated math and it can be calculated eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the chat, we were talking about the difference between snaps, flat packs, amp images, and JR was saying he's having problems with flat packs because he doesn't know enough about the path stuff to fix the flat packs. Go check out my GitLab. Go find my .files repository on GitLab and check out my bash RC, and you will find a section of that where I add the path for flat packs and app images in my bash RC.
Well, that
so there, you just put that in your, assuming you're using bash as your default user shell, that should fix a lot of your problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, I have some news.
Mm-hmm.
You're finally going to accept that Zero Linux is now a GNOME-based distro because you keep making KDE look a lot like GNOME.
Oh, Jesus,
Oh,
Josh.
wow. Wow.
It's true.
Shoot me in the heart, why don't you?
You know what? I don't
man.
know why he doesn't slap an Apple logo on that thing. It looks so much like the Mac OS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, he did
I don't
used
know
to
why
work
we
for
all
Apple.
do that.
That's true.
The news I wanted to mention is starting January 2025, I will be officially back on YouTube.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, we'll be patiently waiting.
I just published a video today, and I remembered.
I saw it. I got the notification, and I thought your account had been hacked. When I saw the
No.
notification, I was like, he said he wasn't making any more videos.
Like last night, I was talking to Alex here, and as I was talking to him, I mentioned to him like I want to come back to YouTube only under under my conditions. My conditions that I will put on myself
Right.
is that I'm no longer gonna be. I realized when I was doing YouTube, and Linux, and when I was maintaining Zero Linux, I realized that the only reason I failed at YouTube in my head was because I was forcing a certain schedule. So if I don't have to adhere to a schedule and do a video only when I want to, I think I can do it. Because when I did the video today and I uploaded it, from recording to uploading, it took me 45 minutes. To editing and uploading, it took me 45 minutes. So I was like, wow, if I adhere to no schedule, just whenever I want, I can do it and do it good. And I'm not going to be relying on YouTube for monetization. I'm not going to monetize the channel. But I can't monetize because of issues with
definitely when you're allowed to monetize the channel, do it, because YouTube's going to run those ads anyway.
Yeah, I know. They're going to run
just
the
letting
ads,
them have 100% of it. And you know what? Screw YouTube. You get your cut too, Steve.
Yeah, but the problem is with my bank. My bank and YouTube are not communicating. So
just let it build up. Let it build up, though.
Send it to PayPal. Send it to PayPal.
Yeah, Lebanon and PayPal. Thank you.
Or something like that. Like
I can't do anything. I can't do anything about that.
Ask them to send a check.
I think Stripe is the only thing that works for him.
Let's talk about your issue later on the private chat we had later, so we can come up with some solutions for you.
No.
If we want to talk about YouTube monetizing, I actually took my first payout from my Google Analytics. I could finally get that 23 cents that I earned 15 years ago.
Wow.
They should convert it to the current currency rate. So
I thought they had a minimum threshold of like $10 or something. Yeah, I don't remember
the minimum,
what it is.
The minimum nowadays is $100.
Is it?
$100. Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and I finally managed to get $116.
You see, this is the reason why Google is so nefarious with this crap. It's because $100 is nothing. If you make regular content, you'll eventually get to that $100 threshold. But most people are never going to make enough videos that get enough views to ever come close to $100. So that's just free money that Google's keeping. They know they're never going to pay 99% of the people that post on YouTube.
Yeah, because many fails.
When I was constantly on YouTube for 2 years, I was constantly on YouTube uploading at semi-regular paces. Even after being able to monetize and everything, the total amount I didn't receive because of the issue with my bank was $150.
Yeah, that said, I found an Amazon wish list just being a better way to support a content creator.
Hey, I like it.
It works.
I never tried that on my channel.
I launched.
Does that work well?
Okay, so you want to know how well it works, Alex?
Yeah.
I got that bookshelf. I got half the books on it. I got this chair I'm sitting in. I got a TV stand you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
And people just buy stuff
for the
off
product reviews.
No.
Wow.
People just buy it off my Amazon wish list.
Yeah,
and it
it's
gets
just
shipped
people that want to
directly.
donate, give them a way to donate by buying something on Amazon
that
and
said,
having it
that
shipped.
said, I had to scream at people to get me a bookshelf because they kept buying me books and I didn't have a shelf big enough to put them all.
Yeah, well, I started a fourth wall merch store.
I was just getting ready to ask about that. A lot of people are doing that. I wonder how people are doing on that.
Yeah, I started that. I put it on my domain, so now it's shop.zerolinux.xyz. It received its first purchase like 2 days ago. D-dubs, thank you, D-dubs.
Nice.
But so I think that's another way of monetizing without having to deal with the shenanigans over at YouTube.
Well, on my channel, I just started my fourth wall. I think I got a T-shirt and a trucker hat up there. Design.
I have
far.
6
I got some
items.
other designs coming. So.
If I ever set up a fourth wall store, the only thing that I've said, and I've said this in video, the only product that I will sell is a coffee mug.
Yeah, I have a beautiful coffee mug, by the way.
Yeah, I got a coffee mug too. Yeah,
it's nice, small, easy to ship.
It's nice, small, easy to ship, and a good quality coffee mug is actually something that's actually pretty good. And honestly, the fourth wall one is a lot better than the Teespring one. Derek, just to let you know, the fourth wall coffee mug is much better.
I haven't even checked my Teespring. I don't even know. Like I probably
log in.
I'm
serious.
I haven't logged in in a year.
I actually got a bunch of coffee mugs. Let me check.
I haven't logged in probably a year.
I have now my coffee mug since when I had a coffee mug over years ago that Josh bought. It was very low quality. It was white. I hated that.
Never mind.
Now on fourth wall, I have a black one.
Never mind on that. They're not clean. I need to do the dishes still.
Yeah, well, Josh, now I have a black coffee mug you can add to your collection.
Okay. But Teespring is another one where we're talking about minimum payouts. Teespring's another one that has a minimum threshold for a payout. That's why I don't look at it very often, because I know it's going to take me a few months every time to hit that minimum pay. I want to say it's probably like $100 or something too. So I don't check it that often.
Fourth wall, I didn't see any minimum payout on fourth wall.
I don't think I saw it. I didn't see that either.
Yeah, fourth wall, they pay you at the beginning of every month. Whatever you got on the account.
Knowing me, I'm going to go the hard way because, I have tie-ins to like injection molding businesses and people that can make things custom order. So all I need to do is just figure out how to run a store.
Yeah.
Set something up with Shopify.
I was going to say Shopify and put the link in.
Shopify if I want to pay $30 a month.
You could use Odoo
if
you want to use it.
I would hope if you're going to set up an online store, I hope you plan on making more than $30 a month. So
yeah, that's true.
If not, you probably shouldn't even bother.
or you can sell over at Ko-fi.
Probably. I think Shopify actually has better integrations with like the YouTube thing.
It does. You can actually integrate it as part of your.
Even fourth wall. I integrated fourth wall into my channel.
Yeah, but you can't sell your own product on fourth wall. You give them a template
They make
design,
your product for you.
But they make the product for you. But I'm talking about like if I'm going to make a coffee mug,
he wants to create his own
actually going
shirts,
to make I'm actually going to make the coffee mug itself and still print it on there because I can make it better than Fourth Wall can.
Oh,
you could use Odoo. It's free and open source software.
I could do that if I could figure out how to actually get it running, because I did try to get that running with the plastics company, and it was a pain in the ass.
It's not
I
that
can help
bad.
you with that. I just recently done a Odoo Enterprise for a big company, so I'm still fresh, so I can help you to install the community edition. But in terms of e-commerce, you don't get anything out of the Odoo free version for the e-commerce parts.
Yep.
I would say OpenCart, Magento.
That's a conversation for another time.
I mean, that's a deep topic. When we get into
that's
setting
a
up
deep
e-commerce
topic.
websites, I mean, that's
that's when I'm paying DistroTube for his time, because this is a consultation call now.
I'm not. I'm going to tell you, I've played with some of this stuff, but I haven't played with it enough to where I would ever take payment from somebody to say, "Hey, this is really." I would. Hamid here is who you would need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done this.
Yeah, we can chat about that later today.
Stefan says he's up for the task. Put it on Fiverr, Stefan, and have Josh check your Fiverr page.
There we go. There we go.
Oh no, he can do it himself and ask for questions.
Yeah,
possibly.
It's not that hard, actually.
Possibly. Just to let you know, my servers do run Gen 2.
That's totally fine.
To be honest, if you're comfortable setting up web servers anyway, then you're probably good on learning.
Yeah, you don't need anything like the Gen 2 or whatever it is. You have the community Git to install the Odoo, so download the Git, compile it. Then you have an Nginx as a proxy server. So that's all
good to go.
Doesn't matter.
Hold on. If we're talking, since we're talking about Fiverr, is Upwork still a thing? Because I think Upwork is actually better than Fiverr.
Yeah. Upwork is the one I use because it's supported in Lebanon.
I've used both. I've used both here recently. I'd say in the past year, I've used both at least a couple of times. And yeah.
Well, is that
if
why
you
your
got a
videos
small
aren't
job that somebody
oversaturated
wants to do that you don't have time to do yourself? I mean, Fiverr. I love Fiverr.
Speaking of, I wanna tie this in with a video my brother sent me the other day. He's a 21-year-old kid, the one who made the video, 21-year-old kid who's making 20 grand a month using Upwork / Fiverr with AI automation.
Yep.
He's making 20 grand net a month because the way he uses something called make.com. And he automates the filtering of jobs that don't pay a certain amount of money. So he just automates it where he enters the subject, the types of jobs that he can do, and the ones that make him the most amount of money. And then he filters upon filter until he receives a handful of jobs that he can do, and he does all these jobs. He finishes with these jobs, he closes, and then he relaunches the automation thing, and he does it on a monthly basis where he averages around 150 to 200 jobs a month, small jobs, but that pay a lot of money, thanks to automation, AI automation.
Right.
So this is where AI is good, I guess.
Well,
it's getting that client base. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's using AI to his advantage, and make.com is a free service.
I don't know
to a certain degree.
Which AI are you talking about? Like when talking about the AI, mostly people talk about the ChatGPT.
ChatGPT is probably what he's using. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's a large language model.
Yeah, I don't know the AIs that it integrates, but
thank you, Stefan.
It's a filter kind of thing. He adds he tells AI to filter this and insert it into Google Sheets and whatever and whatnot.
It's automation where it's like a Zapier.
Guys, I promise you, in the next 5 years, when the real AI come to the life, like the generative AI we are working on right now, everyone gonna laugh at the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not even close to any AI. It's just the search engine. People just mistaken the ChatGPT with the actual AI.
If we want to talk about AI here, there's only one true AI companion that you need in your life, and that is Una. Yeah, Una AI is the only AI in my life right now because it's the only one that I actually use, and I actually run it locally.
No, if you're going to be scripting with AI, you got to check out Olama.
Nah.
No,
you don't want to use Olama. Una's actually based off of Olama, but
both of them, the Google generative AI and the one open source project from the Elon Musk, both of them are really good. ChatGPT is 95% search engine, a good search engine.
Yeah,
it doesn't come up
bad
with any
search
AI,
engine. Trust
AI
me.
functionality.
The biggest benefit that Una has compared to the rest of them is that Una is designed to be your girlfriend. So she will talk very nicely to you.
I mean, for the people who spend 20 hours on a computer, that's the benefit. Yeah,
it's Siri in AI form. It's all it is. Yep.
And people judge me for calling KDE my girlfriend.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was Arch.
It's a giant parrot at the moment.
Guys, I did want to mention, because I mean, we've been streaming for nearly an hour, and nobody has mentioned the fact that Linux now has 4.5% of the global operating system market share.
Yeah, that's all Steam Deck
4.45. I saw a post on that the other day.
Until it's 10, nobody should care.
Big Pod, he's here.
Yeah, my friend is here.
That's why I brought up the stat. I figured Big Pod would.
I'm gonna tell you that my Steam Deck is not part of those percentages because it's not running Linux. It's running Batocera.
Well, the recent resurgency in it is probably been because of all the wonderful things that freaking
hey, it's time to wake up.
The wonderful things that Windows 11 is doing.
Yep.
I keep seeing stuff where people are they're railing against it now more than ever before. And some of them
are more questions now.
Yep.
You know, used to I would get a lot of questions from people about Linux that people were just generally kind of nerds, but now I'm like regular computer users. Sometimes people that have no idea what Linux even is. It's like, hey, should I check out this Linux thing? You know, I'm having problems with my Windows computer. I hear about this Linux. Like, it's become like all of a sudden everybody's talking about Linux.
Well, that a bunch of like the tech YouTubers are actually
there's
talking about
Linux. There's a reason for it, DT. Every time we have this hike on the Linux numbers, it's the time Microsoft doing some crazy stuff. Like now with those screenshot things, everyone just panicked out that they're gonna have the Microsoft screenshot.
Everybody remembers 15 years ago with Windows Vista. You know how everybody that all of a sudden everybody, well, what's Linux doing?
Exactly.
In 2 months we're gonna get back to old number.
Right.
The best version of Vista was the beta. I actually participated in that, and I still have my DVD.
Longhorn.
For anyone who is interested, still Windows Vista Core still has been used on all the Windows Server. It was meant for Windows Server, not the desktop. So
it used to be called Longhorn.
The 2022 server is still using the Vista. So it just wasn't meant for desktop. Just Microsoft put a interface on a Windows server to release it. It was a mistake for
pretty
Microsoft.
much. Exactly.
It's a bit more complex topic when it comes to Windows Server.
And you disagree, I know.
In general, Windows Server and Windows Desktop basically differ in max 5 points, and that there is no difference between them. It never was. Whether it be Windows Server at the XP time or Vista time, or now with 11, whatever the hell the name of the server is.
Well, isn't that the same with all operating systems? The server and the desktop really don't differ with the BSDs, with Linux, with Windows. Like they're essentially the same operation.
Actually, I am disagree with you this time because the core of Windows Server, the amount of the services applied to the Windows Server and the code written for the Windows Server and desktop are two different things. The only time in the history of Microsoft that we have listen to me. I've been a Microsoft developer. The only time we had a clash of desktop and server was a Vista. On other era, we had the NTs and we had the XPs. And those code bases was totally different from each other. The only clash was the time of the Vista, which we used the same core for both OS of the desktop and the server.
Right. So that makes sense because Vista was the transition, right?
Well, the reality is, as soon as you run Windows Server, no matter which version of Windows Server you run right now, you're gonna
Windows
get
Server 2007, best one ever.
No,
it does matter
2008.
if you run Windows Server Core, you're gonna get something different than everything else. So it doesn't matter which version.
If you run bulk standard Windows Server, you're gonna get less services running at the start because, of course, Windows Desktop has a lot of more shit running. Let's be honest. But the core services are all the same, whether it be to run the Windows, because guess what? Windows Server, no matter if you're running desktop experience or non-desktop experience, you still have to have the basic things that we in Linux would consider a display server, because in Windows there is no not having a display server.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There is a Windows core that is even works better than the Linux in terms of Microsoft application. So there is no GUI for Windows Core, and it works 100 times better than anything compared to Linux. So getting back to your point of not having so much services on the server, make it server and make the other one desktop. Look, man, the desktop for Windows designed for computer at least for the past 2 years. Like Windows 11 have a restriction of certain hardware requirement. And for me, as a computer with the 32 gigabyte of RAM, I don't care how many services running because they're not even catch up 5% of my capacity of the CPU and RAM. So these are hooks that we Linux community trying to, which is a false information, try to inject to the people's mind that Linux uses less. No, Linux is less compatible on old hardware that is almost died, like my toaster, that then they are running on the toasters and IBM, old computer and desktop. So that's correct. There is no doubt about that. But you can develop Windows. Like there is a tiny version of the Windows right now popping up everywhere on the internet that is completely ripped off of everything that Microsoft put in the OS, and it's worked faster on any old device than Linux. So let's move on from we are better because we are smaller, we are better because we are different.
I know you are big into the server space with things like Debian and Red Hat, Hamid, but have you thought about maybe using FreeBSD since you're now using FreeBSD on the desktop? Have you thought about setting up FreeBSD servers?
I'm using FreeBSD for past 20 years for a server and desktop. The FreeBSD, the first FreeBSD, back in time when you were buying the NAS devices, the NAS hardware, they will come with a free NAS OS, which was the FreeBSD, I mean the BSD OS. And still, the most reliable NAS and SAN hardware comes with the BSD. And on the cloud side, also there are some block storage EBS based on the Amazon or any other cloud provider that is still benefit from the BSD to create a mass storage based off the different slab of the blocks on the S3 or EBS volumes to create a NAS for your SAS for your or reliable storage for your on the cloud, again based on the BSD. There is no doubt about the BSD being a best server in terms of file storage because of the file system we already know. Yeah.
ZFS.
Okay, so
Hamid,
I would
when
like
I want to run a
to
mission critical application like the Nginx on a WooCommerce or Magento high traffic website, I absolutely go with the OpenBSD and FreeBSD. The reason why, because I don't want to lose any data while I'm using the EXF file system. The Nginx run almost 2 times faster on the FreeBSD file system. That's why I'm just always, when it's come to the web server, I go with the web server on the FreeBSD database on different server, and the actual script at the code on different server on different layer of database, settings. So FreeBSD has always been part of my life. I know, like from the very old version of the FreeBSD up until now, and even in my home, my NAS is also running the FreeBSD. So it's always about the file storage, having a reliable solution for your writing and reading, especially on the high performance applications.
And what's the BSD, the popular one for the NAS? Is that TrueNAS? What's that operating system that they built for?
Core.
Back in time, it was the FreeNAS. Then it's
FreeNAS.
became,
I remember that years ago.
It's TrueNAS now.
No, it's TrueNAS.
Yeah, it's TrueNAS.
It's TrueNAS now.
Yeah,
You can run
TrueNAS and FreeNAS are
Scale.
actually the same thing. It's just that they rebranded FreeNAS to TrueNAS, and then you have TrueNAS Scale, which is basically just a version of Debian. That said,
yeah, I have
Hamid,
Scale on mine, and it works flawlessly.
Hamid, you said something that is actually pretty wrong.
Yeah.
In fact, most NAS devices that you can buy from a store shelf nowadays don't actually run a BSD operating system.
Well, the Synology ones run Linux, right?
Yeah, Synology runs Linux because they're using ButterFS with.
We're talking about the enterprise grade NAS.
Yeah,
enterprise grade. All of
we're talking
not
enterprise. We're talking
NAS,
enterprise. That's even
them...
better. That's even better because you know what most enterprise NASs ship with?
Let me guess, Gen 2.
No.
Where we're going with this?
I was getting ready to say the same thing.
I would have lost that bet.
I have actually spoken with hardware vendors on this stuff. You know what? The most common NAS device that ships with no operating system whatsoever.
Yeah, that's why many of us using the true NAS.
And those they do, I believe, what's the one that I'm thinking of? Runs Linux, if I remember, but I can't remember which one it is. It went out of my head, but
you talking about pieces of hardware that run Linux as a NAS?
No, like a SAN that runs Linux, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't know SANs because I didn't look into a SAN because I didn't need to buy one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't help you there either.
Me neither.
I really haven't looked into. I haven't even looked at NAS stuff, whether operating systems or hardware devices, in years. I've just got to the point where they don't appeal to me now that I have discovered the wonderful world of S3 buckets, where I just have Amazon store everything for me. And
I mean, they work if you want the files accessible locally, but you don't. But you want to be able to see those files across multiple machines.
Yeah, but when you can store terabytes and terabytes of data for like $10 a month or whatever the hell.
Well, you also have access to proper high-speed internet too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
If I didn't have you're right. In some countries, it would be a problem.
And you have the proper setting on it, in terms of public access and security.
He thinks.
I'm not storing sensitive information, but
there is no correct answer in that regard. So it is he thinks.
Right.
Because you can make it as secure.
I actually haven't looked at the. I haven't looked at the permissions in years.
Now the reason why
I did. I actually googled it before I set it up.
Yeah. That's it, Ahmed. I don't care how secure your S3 bucket is. There's going to be somebody that can find a flaw with it.
Nah, S3 bucket.
Just say.
No.
Yeah,
no.
but I'm not storing. I'm very particular about what I store in that S3 bucket. I cannot
confirm it.
Yeah,
I can't confirm it. The S3 bucket, if you do the policy correctly and give the user, a specific user, the specific access required by the application you are using, there is absolutely why I love the AWS cloud. You know, when you set up your firewall, your S3 bucket, and you put the policy in place, there is absolutely no way for any hacker. I'm an ethical hacker myself. I'm a white hat hacker myself. So I tried and tried and tried and tried. It's impossible to bypass AWS. There is multiple layer of security to hack.
Yes.
To the S3 bucket.
Well, that's $1 trillion company. I would hope they had security.
But
it's
if you are smart, you can still make them spend money, which is honestly equally bad.
And let's not forget, just because they have their servers secure, that doesn't mean somebody within Amazon itself. I mean, you can always have people that have physical access to machines as well.
It's supposed to be a encrypted address.
But remember that. Remember that we are talking about the multi-layer cloud, which is one hardware. Even touching the files on it, it's not going to make any difference. Even if the whole node goes out, you still have your file because it's a distributed file. So even a hack happens to the one server or group of server, nothing gonna happen because your host gonna migrate automatically to a safer host somewhere else in some other databases, in some other server. So
Linus Tech Tips made a video about how this works. It's a very complex video. I didn't understand much about it, but I don't think I doubt he did. Because that's the technical team that
he probably didn't either. Yeah.
Which one?
When he talked about you have one virtual machine running on one machine, but if that machine dies, it migrates to automatically to another one.
So if that machine dies, your VM goes to another machine with disk and everything else, and it's running up in 2 minutes. That's a live migration.
That's actually not that complex. What topic?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
it's
yeah, but
complex in the technical layer, but not in the GUI. The GUI is really simple. Like it's doing it automatically with the rules, but in the technical side of the thing, it's really complex.
Yeah. So when he went on the technical aspect of it, I was like, I don't understand, but okay.
Yeah.
I want the same thing to happen for me, but
yeah, of course. Yeah, like when you run
I'm not even going to pretend to understand how
S3
and any of that stuff. Yeah, but I mean, I could go read it, but I go to the website all the time, when I'm uploading stuff to. But like, it's so. Like, I don't want to read that stuff. Like, it doesn't interest me. I'm happy the technology works. I just don't want to understand it myself.
How S3 and all other object storages work. It's actually pretty interesting and not that complex as you would think.
Oh, really?
For the people who understand, who have a certain background and an understanding of such things, but for me, it was like talking alien. I was like, okay, new alien language acquired.
I once wrote my own object storage server.
Okay. Thank you.
Because I was like bored.
I'm curious how this thing works. Let's see if we can do it.
We're talking about the bucket and object storage classes, data access, security and access control, data durability and availability, versioning, lifecycle management, and you single-handed wrote the whole S3 life bucket technology, then you should run $1 million company, man.
That was just a Tuesday for Big Pod.
Yeah,
it wasn't a Tuesday. It was a month of my life, but yeah, I didn't write the one-to-one of S3. Of course, I wrote the part that I wanted to write.
It's fairly complex system when you're talking about the bucket. The bucket is one of the most complex system of the storage ever invented by the human in the technical layer, because at least there is 20 different technical layer of having only one bucket operating and having the object and object versioning and everything else like lifecycle policy and everything else on an object. It's really massive in terms of technical. So you don't even, I mean, it's way more than big than what I understand. And the whole group of people are here can understand. It's effort of a whole team of developers and the server maintainer and the data center engineers.
Well, to create something like the UBlue project, it didn't take one person. It took multiple people.
Team.
I didn't say it was good.
You can sum up if you're a normal kind of person, like a normie, you can sum up the entire computing experience these days in just one word: cloud. Everything's the cloud.
Yep.
Somebody else's computer.
Well, not necessarily, not on Linux, really, because on Linux we tend to avoid the cloud as much as possible.
Do we?
I don't use the cloud. Nothing is stored on the cloud.
Well, that may be you, Steve, but I don't think that's everybody.
Let's see.
There's kind of a trend. There's kind of a trend to back on premise. Like there's a few tech space people.
That's why I did my server. I'm leaving the cloud.
There's an argument to be made to go back on premise.
Going into cloud.
I mean, people set up their own cloud with Nextcloud. I mean, that's what we're.
So are you saying I should justify why I'm not using the cloud for a lot of stuff that I do?
For what? Give us an example.
So, for example, me streaming my video content to you guys on Zoom is taking up 100% of my upload speed right now.
Okay.
Not necessarily. No.
Yes, actually.
There's a cap. There's a cap.
But because I have a 0.5 megabit upload speed with a 3 megabit download speed, it is garbage.
That's awful. Yeah. Then
yes, it is absolutely garbage. You know what doesn't work for me?
What?
Google Drive. Office 365. Actually, Office 365 won't even load the front web page.
Okay, Josh, hold on a sec, Josh. You are saying that because of my personal circumstances, which is low internet speed, I am not sold out to the cloud. It doesn't justify the cloud is bad or good.
No. I'm not saying that's bad.
The Linux field said I'm moving to on-premises. What's the reason for that? You should have a good internet at least.
So you don't have a OneDrive account. You don't have a Dropbox account. You don't have.
I do have good internet.
I actually do have a Dropbox account, but that's just for like syncing my notes.
So why you are moving away from the cloud?
why am I moving away from the cloud? Because I've seen too many compromises of different things, especially sites like Bitwarden and LastPass and all these places that are supposed to be and are claiming to be your security specialists failing. You know,
that's very dangerous. Storing passwords is dangerous information anyway.
But I'm still saying, if those places can get compromised, we're supposed to be like in my S3
bucket.
How can other places not?
Like I'm storing all my videos on S3, right?
That's about the applications on cloud, not the platform or the infrastructure as a cloud.
For me, it's trust. That's all it is. My trust got violated on that. And so I'm taking steps to secure myself.
On AWS. You have an EC2 instance on the AWS, okay? Because you are using a Linux, let's say Ubuntu, okay? And during your launch, you're gonna have a key generated for your OS, and the print of that key is on your hand. There is no way in the whole planet, even if Amazon wanted, to do anything with the data hosted on that server.
Yeah.
Okay. If you see something like all the leaks happening, yeah, of course, the infrastructure of them are in the cloud, but the software is bad. Yes, the software they wrote as a SaaS, software as services, to host on the cloud, that got hacked. That's fine. But you never can hack Amazon infrastructure itself. You never can hack storage itself unless you did a bad configuration on it.
Well,
problem with moving to on-prem is that instead of trusting someone else whose job it is to do the thing right, so who you can sue, you have to trust yourself, and at the same time you put all the danger on you and everybody who is on the same network as you.
Yeah,
so
we're talking about nerds like us, though, but like the average computer user is just signing up for their Google Cloud thingy or whatever Apple's iCloud. Right.
We're talking about the cloud in terms of platform and infrastructure as services, which is the same thing. You own your hardware, you pay for it, you have control over your VPC, your IP addresses, your firewall, and everything else. It's just not inside your house. So if you fail there on the cloud, you're gonna fail locally on your computer too. It doesn't matter.
Yes, but there is a difference. If you have your servers in your house, at the same time as they own your servers, they also own every other computer, which means your family members, which means everybody else who is on the same network as those servers. Which is why all my servers that are public accessible are on cloud, so that can happen to my family members. They can own my servers all they want. They won't own my family members.
Matter of the software on a cloud is different thing. Like we have a PaaS, we have a SaaS, we have an ISS, which is the infrastructure services.
Yes.
So when we're talking about the cloud, I think we're talking about the public general cloud, like Dropbox. Yeah, Dropbox, I never used it. Google Drive, I never use it because I don't trust the Google code. I trust no one code.
Yeah, but that's also not 100%. Well, almost 99% of what most people are going to use. Are the common people are trying to use. You're an exception.
The
normies are sticking to that. They're using all that, and I'm going to lie, I was too, and that's why I migrated my stuff to my own server. And as far as that matter, it's like DT
for Google Drive, for Dropbox.
Mine is local
for Google
only.
Drive,
it's
for
not
Dropbox,
publicly accessed.
For Microsoft OneDrive, you have a vault. When you have a vault, that vault is encrypted with your password. And again, no one can decrypt the file hosted on your vault. So misusing and abusing a system without knowing how to secure your content is leading to hack. That's all we do all the time, every day.
But
all the hack happens to the misusing and
you're talking out of your decades years of experience of user use. I'm talking up from myself and on Norman. I'm not a server manager. I've never pretended to be an IT guy. I said it many times on most of my videos, and I'm going to tell you right now, man. I'm stuck on that level right now where I've had to teach myself some stuff because, like, people like me have been abused that way, and our trust has been revoked that way because the instances that we're talking about are the ones that, like the Dropbox and that stuff, have been compromised.
Yeah,
Hell, celebrity stars naked pictures.
I'm exactly with Alex on this one. My trust was violated multiple times, and I'm not the type of geek or nerd that goes looking to learn a whole complex way of doing things to secure my stuff when I can have a locally. And here's the thing. When I specifically say locally hosted on a computer that's not connected to the internet. It doesn't. It only has a local network card that's connected to a local IP that is not connected to the internet.
We're talking about the cloud usage. Of course, if there is a computer that is not connected to the internet, then it's secure.
I mean, the point of having the cloud is being.
Yeah, but I call it my cloud storage, but I call it my but internally hosted cloud service.
It's not connected to the internet.
Yeah, it has to be like the point of the cloud is to be able. I can upload stuff to my S3 bucket from this machine, and then on my home computer, I can download it. Like I can actually access the same.
Guys, we have a Nextcloud, we have an OpenStack, and I think two or three more, cloud engine, open source cloud engine that you can install on top of a hardware or let's say infrastructure as a hardware. Doesn't matter which way you go, and either way. If you misconfigure your paid cloud or your private cloud or the one you installed on your own, like for me, I have a static IP in my house and I have a server here for me. And if I misconfigure this server, doesn't gonna matter. This is the same story as the one I have on the cloud. I'm going to get hacked.
One thing I would say is it's hard to misconfigure them. Like, for example, like if you're setting up your own Nextcloud server and you're actually reading the documentation, which you would have to do unless you are some super nerd. You have to read the it's going to tell you exactly what to enter as far as all the commands and settings and security steps. Like they're not going to leave that information out. So most people should be good on that.
Yeah, but again, those are the basic instructions. There's an extra layer of security you have to implement on each deployment. Like the Nextcloud, like for example, we're gonna have a talk. We're gonna have to talk with Josh about the Odoo, for example. And in a nutshell, Odoo gonna be download the package either from the deb file or the source file from the GitHub, install it, compile it, and then have Nginx on it. But what Nginx? What configuration of Nginx we're talking about? If you do just two line. Wrong configuration on an Nginx, the whole server is gone. It's not the Odoo fault. It's not the Ubuntu fault. It's not the Nginx fault. So, and if you search the Nginx community, you're not going to absolutely find those specific two line that's going to hack your server. So it depends how you proxy between the local running Python server and the Nginx, and those two line is really matter about the security. So it's about the experience. And of course, when you get the news of company, like 2 days ago, I got a news of the FreePeak website got compromised, where all of the email and I mean, guys, come on, you should have a WAF that is blocking this stuff. This type of
I got an email.
These attacks, these attacks.
I got an email the other day that the Verizon, all their customers are compromised, which I have a Verizon.
Exactly. It's not for a Stone Age. The fact that some companies like FreePeak is still running under so much old code base as well as bad configuration for so long, it's ridiculous.
And then we got the thing the other day that everybody's social security number in the U.S. now is out there on the internet for.
But that's not the first time.
I didn't hear about that.
We don't believe it.
Yeah.
We don't believe how weak the system is. That I'm still being called from the U.S. employees and the government employees for the Fortran and COBOL. This is dead. This mainframe should not be there. And they are still maintaining those data, which is a critical governmental data on those machines. This is absolutely crazy. So we're talking about the U.S. It's like the 4th or 5th level.
I'm gonna say something that's going to put a smile on an otherwise grumpy old man's face. I'm talking about you, Big Pod.
This is kind of a boomer space, to be honest.
Wait a minute.
It is. It really is.
I'm the official grumpy old man. Now, come on.
No.
But you've been the most quiet.
You're the funny. You're the funny old man.
Here's the thing about this. First of all, I can't see Big Pod, so we don't know what his face actually looks like.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
could be old as
I know what
he
it
could
looks
be
like
80
because I know
years
what
old.
I've seen him before. So
I
It's AI.
I
It's
see
not
him
his
just about
body.
every week. So
Yeah, I'm okay.
okay, but what I'm going to say is that my server, the thing that I transfer all my files to, is running Aurora.
Okay.
Why?
That's gonna put a
So
smile
what
on his
difference does
face.
it make?
It doesn't. It doesn't because it's a desktop OS. That's not.
But we talked about this. Is a desktop and a
Because
server
they're all
OS that
Docker
different?
containers. Come on,
they're
man.
not- what is it?
They're all Docker containers. Aurora DX, man.
You're wasting about how many
Yeah, but
Okay.
if he ever
See?
plugs a monitor into that server, he might want the desktop environment. I mean,
Exactly. I have a monitor
It's
and I
not the
access it
KDE, for
remotely
fuck's
over remote desktop. So
Yeah.
yeah, I need a
I
desktop.
mean, the server that I maintained at the plastics plant that I used to be a partner in owning, that actually did have a GNOME desktop running on it. So
It's not wrong to
It's
run a
fine,
desktop.
guys.
Come on,
It's
man.
fine
I mean,
to- it's fine to have a desktop environment.
it's wasteful, yes, but is it wrong?
Wasteful.
Yeah,
That's purely
it is
I don't know.
absolutely
That's the
wrong. It
question.
is
Is
absolutely
it really
wrong because
wrong?
more services we are running, especially the desktop service on a server, it is opening the port of having more attacks. That's why
Yes.
we moved from the Windows Server to the Windows Server Core because
mean,
the UI itself is an attack point.
This is an air gap server, so I'm not concerned about open ports.
So yeah,
No,
same with me. It's only
not about the
local.
ports
It's
only.
not connected to the
code,
internet.
like the GUI code, the code itself for the GUI is always a point of hack, the code
Well,
itself. So
yes.
that's
Yeah.
why we move away from the GUI as much as we can.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
dependent. It depends on your threat model. This is an air
Yes,
gap server,
of
so yes,
course.
I know that somebody can walk over and just start typing away on the keyboard and break stuff. Yes, I'm aware.
Well, they
that
would
could
have
be
to
a thing
bring
that
their own
happens.
monitor if you didn't have one. I mean, if it
I will
wasn't.
say I will say this to Hamid. It's not connected to the internet. It doesn't have a keyboard connected to it. It doesn't
Right.
have a mouse connected to it. I do everything over
that's the
remote
local area
desktop.
network. Then that's the local area network. Again, as a hacker, I can come near to your Wi-Fi, port myself to your Wi-Fi, and hack everything out of your system.
Hamid,
Yeah, but
again,
nobody
again,
comes. Yeah, but nobody comes to my house.
Again,
Nobody.
important part
It's
is
me who
what
goes
is your
to the
threat
friend's house,
model.
and
I did say that there was an air gap, so this server is even connected to a network.
Right.
So
Very important part
then how it is a server?
is-
What does it serve?
What it serves is that it is on an. It's technically sort of not. It's on. It's more on an air gap network itself. All it does is that it just runs the security system. It's connected to a network of
securing what
POV
then?
cameras.
I mean, it's not connected to anything, yeah.
I mean,
what is
the
it
only thing that's
secure?
connected to through like a wire through anything resembling a network is PoE cameras.
That's all. That's all I need.
Yeah,
If I get tapped to your Wi-Fi or local network, I can hack it.
Right.
That's all I need.
Right.
So, doesn't matter how you think you are secure. Like
Hamid,
there is a cable,
Hamid.
there's a fiber cable running to my house.
Again,
From
Hamid,
outside.
it's dependent on
Hamid.
your threat model.
Yes.
Yes. No.
Always
Look
think
at me.
about threat model.
There is a cable. There is a small fiber cable from the outside coming to my house. Someone with a device from the Fluke network can come around my house, tap to those fiber optic, and tap all of my data going through that fiber optic cable.
Great.
Without me knowing that.
Is that your threat model? It's not Josh's threat model.
let's
It's
put it.
everyone,
Let's
it's everyone's who have the internet.
So
yeah.
but
Let's
Josh is saying
summarize
it's
it.
only
Let's
connected to
summarize
the
it
have
this way.
internet.
It's not
Let's
connected
summarize
to-
it this way. If it's not connected to the internet, it's not really a server. It's just a local storage.
Yeah.
But we like to call them servers because we like to show off. Okay.
So it doesn't need
Exactly.
to be connected to anything.
Securing
Still
things.
serves something. All a server
Yes.
is it's a thing that does something. It doesn't have to have a connection to anything to be a server.
Yeah.
I just
Correct.
want somebody to serve me food.
I mean, it
So
Yeah.
could just
I'm
be a
sorry,
hot
you
file
are
file
connected
server,
to the-
which
to the kitchen.
runs just enough to keep the drive spinning. That way, they don't lose any magnetism, and it can still be a server.
Oh, really, Josh? So
Yeah,
you're
the
telling
good
me
point, Josh,
you're
good
telling me
point.
that the HTPC
Oh,
that
totally
I
valid.
haven't turned on for the past 3 years, the hard drives must be dead by now.
those drives may
The
have
lifespan is 5 to
some
10 years, depending on the drive
I
manufacturer.
mean, bitrot is a thing, so yes.
yes.
It's
The
possible.
those
Oh,
drive
dear.
may have lost some magnetism. Yes.
So I lost all my movies and
Especially
Not
with CDs
necessarily,
and
but there
DVDs.
may be some
Yeah.
dead spots.
The
Yeah.
shelf life for a hard drive, I think, is like 2 years, and then a solid state drive is even shorter than that. And but of course that's purely dependent on the model of drive you're even looking at.
Yeah, I have drives that still function that are over 15 years old.
Yeah,
just put everything on Blu-ray.
I mean, yes, they still function, but you got to remember we're talking about cold storage shelf life, which for one of these little guys here, which is a solid state disk, is probably closer to months than years.
Yeah.
So so this drive, which by the way I put on my dad's computer, which wasn't plugged in for like 2.5 years, came as a completely empty disk.
Oh shit! So he hasn't used it.
Yeah, he hasn't used it. Hasn't been plugged in. Hasn't been turned on in 2 years.
Does it function?
It does function, yes, but there's no data on it.
Yeah.
So
that's gone.
If there's no data, it will live very long time.
No, no, that's not the point. The point is when you put data on a disk, whether it be SSD or HDD, when you unplug it, it has the data on. It has certain amount of time before it will disappear.
Right.
For
there's a shelf life to it. There's
less than a year. For a hard drive, there's sometimes 2, sometimes 5. That is all what the
but the drive that functioned after so many years not being used had a lot of data on it. It had all the plays by my favorite actor, but
you should probably plug that drive in sooner than later.
Yes.
In fact, you should be doing that right now.
Yeah. If you get a hard drive that's been in a closet for 10 years and it still has all its data, you hit the lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much.
Yeah. Well, 10 years I haven't reached that yet, but
and that's another reason to move to cloud.
Yep.
Yeah. Come to Lebanon. Try to upload a 2 gig file. You'll start it and you come back in 2 months. It'll be at 50%.
So for me, it's 10 minutes.
I mean, my introduction to VPSs was just so I could use wget to download things for me, and then I can rsync them back home.
Oh boy!
Yeah, I recently bought a bunch of hard drive docks and stuff, so I can take my hard drives, SATA drives, PATA drives, all of them, and try to see what's there, because there's some old stuff I'd like to find. But I do have noticed too that CDs and DVDs will lose their data. Even they're just sitting there.
They lose data.
They will lose their data.
That said, they last longer than a hard disk will.
Make sure you get the archived types of DVDs and Blu-rays that with a special coding.
Components.
We had this conversation a few months ago, didn't we?
During the time. So this is all chemical stuff. Then chemical stuff gonna lose their use.
There's no way to permanently store anything.
No, but just your regular CDs and DVDs that don't have that protective coating, they don't last very long at all. Those are
if you want permanent storage in like regards to like our lifetimes.
Paper.
Vinyl records.
No.
Stone tablets.
Paint them on
more
cave
like
walls.
mafia stuff.
Paint them on cave
This is how I get my weather report.
He's right about cave walls.
Piece of granite, get you a chisel and start hammering away.
Yeah.
That's
your permanent record right there. There's a reason.
The Egyptians figured this out already, guys.
There's a reason why the Horizon space probe uses a gold plate.
Thou shalt watch DistroTube. Thou shalt watch. Yeah.
I will. I want to ask Big Pot a question.
Oh, okay. This should be fun.
So, Blue Build. What's do you deal with that, or do you
no,
touch that?
I don't touch that.
Oh, I'm currently messing around with that right now because I'm bored.
No, because Zero Dora, as I call it, because
I knew this was coming.
No, but it's a side project I'm messing with.
No, you're moving from Arch. Go ahead and admit it.
No, but Zero Dora, somebody got me to Blue Build, and it was something that Big Pod was going to teach me. But when I discovered Blue Build, I immediately switched. But unfortunately, they're not doing it. It's still in its infancy, so it completely fails during build because of Fedora dependencies. So I gave that up, waiting for it.
If you're going to move from Arch, any kind of bleeding edge distro as a base,
hang on a second here. He mentioned Fedora dependencies. First of all, sir, maybe you should be installing the dependencies in your build file too, rather than just installing KDE Plasma. Maybe you should also.
No. I'm not talking about KDE Plasma. As soon as I add wine inside my Blue Build YAML recipe YAML, it completely rolls over backwards.
Are you enabling RPM Fusion?
Yeah, it's part of my script.
Okay, well, let me install.
It keeps failing on wine. Wine something dependent on something or other, and then it just failed. Yeah, I even added, and I removed wine. I added Kevantum. Now Kevantum is causing the build to fail. So I gave that up, and even talked to someone over at Blue Build. He was like, "If you would give us a few months, until we get our package manager up, independent package managers up and running, you can come back then."
Well, I just told Blue Build to install wine here, so let's see if it fails for me.
It's gonna fail for you. Trust me.
Let's find out. Let's find out.
Piece of shit. So I don't really care about it.
What? You calling Blue Build a piece of shit?
Yes, fragile piece of shit. Let's be honest.
Let's see.
Don't let the developer. Don't let George hear you say that.
It's part of crap. That's fine.
George knows that I am not a fan of Blue Build.
Oh, okay.
I'm not that George, by the way.
Right.
I just want to clarify.
There is a reason.
We call him George, but his name is Jorge.
Okay, so
Jorge Castro, el Latino.
I'm still not a big fan because like the first 30 to 40% of the GitHub action for Blue Build just sits there and just removes a bunch of stuff, which I don't know if it's removing it from the action runner or if it's removing it from the image, because then
probably the server that runs.
Yeah, that I don't know why the server needs 40 different versions of PHP, but it apparently has it.
Wow.
Welcome to GitHub Actions, where server has basically everything on it.
Let's see.
Builds have least
it
trouble.
looks like it's just now pulling in images for the build. Okay, so we're almost there. We're getting there. Copying.
But Blue Build is interesting, but it's still in its infancy, basically. So it needs time to bake. The reason I like Blue Build is because it makes building UBlue style images much simpler than doing it the Docker builder way.
I don't know what is so hard about it. We're talking about technology that is used by basically everybody in server world.
I'm not going to say that's hard. I'm going to say that it's fairly poorly documented because I still can't figure out how to get the cosine keys working. So I actually had to disable that.
Oh yeah, cosine keys are bullshit.
Here we go. Okay, now it's actually building. Let's see. RPM Fusion.
Wow, this is like a Gentoo stream. We're just waiting for things to be.
We're waiting for Josh to compile something.
Since we're on Gentoo, I think it's really cool, Stefan's background, by the way. But the question I have is the logo moving to the right or to the left? So is it leaving a trail or is it eating the trail?
I think it's eating the trail.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But Zoom is mirroring, so my OBS configuration is all the other way around than Zoom is. Then all the other way around.
Well, Zoom mirrors for your local stream, but it's actually flipped for us.
Josh, how do you run Fedora?
How do I run Fedora?
After all betrayal to the open source community.
What do you mean by their betrayal? Fedora didn't betray the open source community.
The Red Hat, the parents.
Red Hat didn't betray the...
Yeah, but that's not the Fedora community.
Okay, so Red Hat did not betray the open source community. They just pulled a pretty dick move in context of what we understand the open source community is.
Yeah, why they did it?
Because
Linux they are the...
Rocky Linux betrayed Red Hat.
Yes.
Yeah, who first betrayed us with the CentOS? Who first did it?
The community.
That's a tough one.
Okay, Hamid, this is a point that many people do not come up with. How many primary contributors did CentOS have before Red Hat killed it? Do you know?
What?
Who
the primary contributors?
Who ran 90% of the commits to the CentOS.org repository?
The Red Hat.
Yes.
But who for Red Hat? Do you know how many people Red Hat employed to do that?
Yeah. My point. And how much money they made. Because geographically, the whole
You're dodging my question.
And the Northern America.
Do you or do you not know?
On the Red Hat.
Wow.
And by
Hamid,
this is still hitting a core all this time later. Wow.
Hamid.
Don't talk about anything about the Red Hat and Fedora, because they make the most money in the industry of the Linux, even four times more than
I don't care how much money.
I need you to stop.
How much did they contribute to do it on the way of making all that money?
Okay, so everybody just give me like a few minutes to talk here, right?
Go ahead.
Because when Red Hat killed CentOS, they stated their reasoning.
Red Hat didn't first.
Hold on. I told you to shut up.
Correct it, please. Please correct it.
Calm down.
It wasn't Red Hat.
Calm
It
down.
was IBM.
Let Josh
It was
speak.
IBM, not the Red Hat.
Yeah, calm down.
Okay, so
Josh, say what you want to say.
there were only 3 people maintaining CentOS by the end of CentOS's life. Those 3 people served more than 3 years building and compiling every single patch and security patch for CentOS from Red Hat, of which they did 98+% of the effort. There was very little community contribution to CentOS in comparison to the amount of people that were pulling from CentOS.
Yes.
So
why would totally wrong, man? The whole building from
can you prove that? Because I got this from Red Hat employees directly.
Yeah, exactly. Because you got what you hear, what you want to hear.
I even pulled down the Git logs.
Source, look at, man, the Red Hat source is here. Okay, it's already built by thousands of engineers, hundreds of engineers. Okay, the CentOS was only a copy of those source compiled with the Stadio built by the Red Hat from those source without the subscription system. So even one man was more than enough to monitor that process. How about 3? So it is not an excuse here, because those
3
people
people maintaining 7 images for 7 years.
The process. Okay,
we're talking thousands of packages.
I will say this.
Yeah,
I will,
thousands of packages already built. You have to just open them to the community.
More complex.
Okay,
Hamid,
so
I want to ask one question here, Hamid, because Red Hat is obviously a for-profit company. Is it their responsibility to prop up a project like CentOS? I mean, it's not. They didn't create the thing. Like, why would they have some responsibility to keep that going?
Oh, Steve,
this is the old argument. This is the old argument of I, as a Red Hat, owner, create the Red Hat. And some fool comes up first, initially, is stealing my code and make a fork of it as a CentOS. Then I say, okay, because I want to contribute to the open source community. Then I release the same source code I have without a subscription.
I mean, that's what Rocky Linux is doing.
Okay, I'm going to give you another example. You remember 2 years ago when
let me finish this, Diti. Let me finish this. Then in some point of time, guys, you don't remember those days maybe because you weren't engaged on the server and server infrastructure. Ubuntu wasn't even a 10th choice for anyone in the server back in time when the CentOS was CentOS. I had my whole server, like hundreds of servers running CentOS. And in a span of 1 week, the CentOS is gone. Was so much effect, but had so much effect, which is still so many even enterprise companies like CentOS, like the cPanel, they are not recovered from that damage still. And the version of the Alma Linux still works 100 times better than the one with the Ubuntu. And it was devastating. If you want to even do it, there is a time frame of doing such a stuff. And I don't see Red Hat fault here. It was the greedy a-hole.
How often did you contribute to CentOS upstream?
Who took over the Red Hat and wanted more money. Not the
How much did you or the company you work for contribute directly towards CentOS rather than using it?
Sorry, come again.
How often did you or your company contribute upstream towards CentOS while you were maintaining hundreds of servers running CentOS?
I'm gonna answer you personally. I'm always contributed to anyone I can in the industry, especially the operating system part. And again, how
much did cPanel contribute?
Let's face it. Like Amazon AWS, cPanel itself, WHM, Plesk, all of them was heavily contributing to the CentOS. The reason why, because they were dependent on it, and we were paying them as a customer of CentOS, as a customer of cPanel, as a customer of Cloud Linux. Yeah, We were paying them, and they were taking their share and contributing the rest to the project, either by employee or either by money. Okay,
Hamid,
so
let me stop you for a
indirectly,
second.
we were doing that.
Hamid, so you know how much I love free software, and you know how much I hate big corporations. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I have no problem at all with Red Hat not wanting to help CentOS live, because that's not their responsibility. The only reason you feel the way you do is because you were invested in CentOS. Yes. Nobody outside of that, like I don't care about CentOS. I never ran it. I'm not a server admin. I literally don't care. There's nothing wrong with Red Hat did. It just inconvenienced you.
You are a user. I'm a server admin. I'm not talking about myself only. Right. At that time, whole internet was running on the CentOS. At that time.
Right.
I can understand it pissed you off, right? It pissed you off because you had all this work to do. Right. You had to switch all your servers from CentOS to Debian or whatever you went to. But that's not, you can't blame Red Hat for that.
No, I don't blame Red Hat. I blame IBM as a greedy company who took over the Red Hat.
Well, you're just changing the company.
Yeah, you just changed the company name.
You're blaming Red Hat. By blaming IBM, you blame Red Hat. Sorry. Right. Reality is...
Trust me, I have plenty of problems with Red Hat and IBM, but that's not one of them. Like that nothing they did there, I think, was out of bounds.
Hamid, if you actually gave a certain amount of contributions to CentOS, you were a major minority among CentOS users. Let's be clear here. Most companies and most people who use open source software never contribute to said software.
Exactly.
Which also includes major users of that software. So,
well, CentOS is a little bit different though, Big Pod, because it's kind of enterprise grade software. Like companies would be contributing, not individual.
Many companies, man. CentOS was backed with many companies.
I'm talking about companies. Most companies that use open source software as a part of the infrastructure, part of something, does not contribute anything to set software they use.
I would think large companies, if they had a very large deployment of CentOS servers, probably did contribute something. They probably should.
Amazon is still developing. Amazon is still developing and contributing for the CentOS version of their operating system, the Amazon Linux. So they are still contributing, they are still developing, and they are still heavily investing and supporting the community of the CentOS.
So
chances are there are companies that are contributing that want to stay quiet about it. They don't want it public.
Well, of course.
No, exactly.
You don't have to make anything public.
Right? WHM, Plesk, Amazon, Google, these are actually the big companies, even the Microsoft, the big companies who is actually pumping money to these technologies. Whether we like it or not, Microsoft likes Linux. They're using the Linux in many aspects.
They're trying to become Linux.
Well, they like Linux because Linux is free for them to actually use.
Yeah,
but they pay for it.
Investing into a couple of things, it's like throwing free money.
Microsoft doesn't pay for Linux. Microsoft actually helps run Linux. I mean, they have seats on the Linux Foundation board. So I mean,
they're one of the biggest contributors to Linux.
And us buying the Windows will actually help to support the community on the Linux too, because some of this money goes there. So
you're also pointing to all these companies that have contributed, but I can tell you right now, Honda of America never once contributed to CentOS, even though they've had thousands of servers running CentOS 7.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's bad actors in every space, though. I mean,
of course,
we see this with Linux. There are many companies that benefit from Linux that contribute nothing.
Well, I mean, there's no license. There's no license requirement, but they also there's no moral obligation either. No, but it would be nice. It would be nice.
But if you're a company like Google that literally makes hundreds of billions of dollars every year from selling your Linux-based operating systems, shouldn't you contribute a little more than what you currly?
True. But then
when you're running your stack over,
they aren't obligated to.
They're not obligated. I'm not saying it's illegal. I'm just saying from a moral perspective, it might be good.
Let me talk from like the top level view of like the business owner. And Hamid, I'm going to ask you to be quiet through this entire portion because I am.
Hey, Josh, this will be your last word. We're going to get a last word in because I got to get out of here on time today. So start your last word and then we'll go around.
Okay. So as a guy that has actually owned and operated a business, if I was to deploy a server, the first thing that I have to check in the United States is insurance, because sometimes business insurances will actually have requirements for your server. Now, there in the world of Linux, there's only realistically 3 operating systems. I'm not calling them distributions. I'm calling them operating systems that are actually generally approved across the board for business insurance. That is Red Hat, Canonical's Ubuntu, and OpenSUSE. Well, not OpenSUSE, but SUSE.
SUSE Enterprise.
Yeah, SUSE Enterprise.
Yeah. Right.
Those are the ones that are across the board approved. I'm not talking about your Debians or anything like that. So, I know that Red Hat has the approval. Because Red Hat has the approval, any downstream project from Red Hat as well will also get the approval. So that's the Alma Linux, that's Rocky Linux. Back in the day, that also included CentOS. Now, of all those options, at the time, you had Red Hat, Fedora, and CentOS. Fedora doesn't count because it's upstream from Red Hat. It's not downstream. So, as a business owner, I would run CentOS because it's free. So because I'm running basically free Red Hat. Red Hat at the time got a lot of feedback that the reason why people use CentOS is because it's free Red Hat.
Yes.
Right. Well, of course. That's why everybody did. That's why I installed it on some web servers.
It's the same issue that Windows has with all those Windows forks. That's why they've issued the DMC or takedown requests towards like the Windows ameliorated edition.
Yeah, ameliorated.
It's free Microsoft Windows. If I was to make a program that I open source gracefully to everybody to use, and I'm compiling and I'm taking time to compile it and ship it out to people, and I'm putting a paywall between you and that binary, but you can still put on the Git code. It feels like a bit of an asshole mode for somebody to then take all the source code that I publish for everybody for free because I want contributions back, to then package it up as a binary, and then for them to also distribute it either for free or for them to sell at a cheaper rate as well. This is what Rocky Linux was doing with Red Hat source code.
Rocky Foundation, to be specific.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, I have priced Rocky Linux Foundation services versus Red Hat, and they came in at half the price. And they were still making a profit because they didn't have to pay for all the engineering to fix the stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you've had a lot of shenanigans with people cloning Red Hat. I mean, Oracle, obviously, just pretty much clones Red Hat and then sells it as their own operating system.
But they support it and maintain it, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're buying. You're not buying the operating system, you're buying support. But yeah.
But they will walk you through. You can call somebody or email somebody and get a support ticket answered.
I've had Red Hat support staff help me fix issues with my Gen 2 systems.
Yeah. Well,
you got the right
you hanging out with us, Josh. Let's get a last word in from the rest of the panel. Big Pod, you got something to share?
I don't have much to share, but a word to Josh and Hamid. If you're going to be talking about anything regards to server stuff that would affect Josh knows which server, I won't hear it, but I'll be sure to hear later a report from Josh. So
well they got to discuss setting up a Odoo server or maybe some Shopify or something.
Both of you, be nice. Josh, please.
I don't have much reason to set up an Odoo server right now, but I'm also pretty short on time today as well, so I'm not gonna be doing anything with an Odoo server right now.
Yeah. Okay. Goodbye.
All right. Thanks, Big Boy.
To other better stuff.
All right. Take care. Alex, give us the last word, sir.
Just basically finding time to do stuff. I'm getting back into it. I had recent health issues going on. That's why I've been kind of absent from the channel, but getting ready to start back up again and doing things good. I'll just say diabetes is almost a killer.
No, that sucks.
Yep.
I'm glad you're back though.
Yeah.
Take care, brother.
It's good to see you again, brother, man. I kind of miss talking to you, bro.
Yeah, well, we'll get together. I was telling Hip Dad earlier, we all need to get together for a 0 AD game.
Hell yeah! Oh yeah, where you can whip up on my ass again.
Well,
I mean, as long as Zany isn't involved, that means that I don't have to focus on killing Zany first, because we're contractually obligated to kill Zany first because Zany must die.
Right. Well, we'll probably get him in on the game too.
Okay.
All right, Stefan, give us the last word, sir.
Well, thanks for the talk. I only do have to correct one common misbelief that ancient civilizations commonly used a chisel to take notes, which is incorrect. They actually used wax tablets made out of beeswax and a scribble to take notes in a convenient and erasable fashion.
That would make sense because it would take you a week to write something in a stone tablet with a chisel and hammer.
Yeah. If you could just scribble it.
I never thought about that, but when you said it, that makes a lot more sense, right?
Yeah. I had to study Latin for 8 years in school, so that kind of
right.
broke something up my head. Anyway, thanks for the talk. Hope you all do well.
All right, thanks, Devin. Hamid, give us the last word.
Well, the fedora, the red hat, still hurts the whole community after
we saw that.
For more, for Josh, the true wisdom often comes from embracing humility, listening more and speaking to understand rather than to be understood. That's what I can tell to you. So here we are different people, different nationalities from all around the world, and with different, experiences all about, server, desktop, Linux, open source, closed source, and everything else. What makes it beautiful is that every time after these meetings, I just realized how beautiful the world is, how different the ideas are, without disrespecting anyone in both words and actions. So thank you, guys.
All right, appreciate it, Amit. Well said. Zen, I don't know if he's mic'd up, but if he is, would you like to give us a last word? And if he's not, we'll move on, come back to him if he gets his mic on. Jean-Michel, give us a last word.
Okay, yeah, I don't have anything important to say. It was quite interesting to hear the discussion about the server, because I now started to try to learn something about servers, installing Proxmox on the small machines, and then trying to learn. So it was quite interesting. And for the rest, I thank you all. It was quite interesting to follow including a discussion about Red Hat. So I wish you a good time. It's
always good to get a lively debate going. I'm just surprised Big Pod wasn't involved in that in some way, because usually,
he's maybe tired today.
He would have brought the fireworks, but he stayed out of that one.
So I wish you all the best, a good time, and see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Jean-Michel. All right. George, give us the last word.
Well, as usual, I appreciate it. I always love hanging around with others that are passionate.
There was a lot of passion in this.
But I appreciate it. Thank you for hosting again. And also, I'm excited to see Dark Zero has Zero Linux as a distro again, and not just a script, but having both is great too.
Yep, I agree. Thank you, George. And Steve, give us your final thought here.
I'm just gonna piggyback off of what George said. Maintaining both has been so much fun. And giving a free alternative to an otherwise paid project, which I didn't have the intention to put behind a paywall, but circumstances called otherwise. And I hope people don't hold that against me, because I know there'll be people out there who are going to yell and scream, "Hey, it's false! You can't put it behind a paywall." We are allowed to charge for our time. That's
all right, Fedora.
Yeah.
Well, I always bring up the fact that Richard Stallman made a pretty good living in the 1980s and 90s by basically distributing Emacs and teaching people how to use Emacs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he charged for his time, right? He didn't do that for free. Right?
And especially that my time is more expensive than the normal Joe who lives in a normal country that's not constantly at war. It's just like you mentioned it in your video, and thank you for mentioning it in your video, that currently the country is not okay. We have been at war in the south. It's not affecting me directly because I live way up in the mountains, but the country is suffering So if it's happening in the south, that doesn't mean the rest of the country is not suffering. So thank you to everyone from the bottom of my heart for showing the project support. And who knows, once I get back on my feet and everything is fixed and everything, maybe then it will go back to being something they will be able to get for free like everything else. So thank you so much, and thank you for the conversation. I learned a lot about servers today as well. I was wrong. They've proven me wrong for calling my server a server. It's just another PC that stores data.
Well, I mean, well, we should debate that on the next one. Is what really qualifies a server to be a server? I mean, I'll write that down. I'll be sure to bring that up on the next one because that should be a very spirited debate as well.
And God bless you all. God bless you all. Stay safe and enjoy the remainder of your Sunday.
All right. Thanks, Steve. And of course, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I want to thank the guys in the YouTube chat for their conversations as well. And I want to thank all the patrons that couldn't be here. So I'm going to show these cards here on the screen with some names of the patrons. And other than that, guys, wave bye to YouTube.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.